You've got an immigration point to make. What's your point today?
Yeah, that's right. Well, there's important but underappreciated reasons the media thinks completely the wrong way when it comes to immigration. They take the narrative of the Chamber of Commerce and far-left Democrats, an interesting marriage, as gospel. This is really great for businesses and cartels. It is terrible for migrants. Why are journalists and Democrats not in absolute uproar over this video of HHS Secretary Javier Becerra comparing migrant children to car parts?
If Henry Ford had seen this in his plans, he would have never become famous and rich. This is not the way you do an assembly line. And kids aren't widgets, I get it. But we could do far better than this.
It's not the way you do an assembly line. Well, it's true this video from last summer was leaked to the New York Times, a media outlet, and published as part of an excellent expose the paper ran on migrant children working in violation of labor laws by major corporations. But if Becerra worked for Trump, that quote would be blanketing the airwaves. It has not, to say the least. I think it got one question at a White House press briefing, and that is wrong, because even the most charitable reading of Becerra's quote exposes the most fundamental problem with this administration's immigration policy. If we're being charitable, Becerra is arguing that kids need to be moved out of detention facilities efficiently for their own safety. This is already a dubious argument, though, because that efficiency, as the Times story shows, is making children less safe. As Hannah Dreier reported, quote, while HHS checks on all minors by calling them a month after they began living with their sponsors, data obtained by the Times showed that over the last 2 years, the agency could not reach more than 85,000 children. Overall, the agency lost immediate contact with a third of migrant children. Dreier added, quote, the federal government hires child welfare agencies to track some minors who are deemed to be at high risk, but caseworkers at those agencies said that HHS regularly ignored obvious signs of labor exploitation. That's a characterization the agency disputed. According to Dreier, children calling an HHS hotline to report labor violations were never getting responses from the agency. Of course, there's plenty of blame to go around. Hearthside, a company that supplied contract manufacturers for major food companies, conceded to the Times that it didn't verify worker ages through a national Social Security check at just this Grand Rapids plant implicated in child labor in the Times story. But think about that. The two biggest beneficiaries of HHS's policy are major American corporations in need of cheap labor and cartels in Mexico. Well, why the cartels? As the Times reported, the children, quote, send cash back to their families while often being in debt to their sponsors for smuggling fees, rent, and then living expenses. Every single unaccompanied minor that crosses our border pays a cartel smuggling fee. This is really, really simple. More migration leads to more money for cartels. In most cases, they aren't sneaking kids across the border either. They're trafficking them up through Central America and Mexico, where they turn themselves into authorities and begin the legal asylum process. So legalizing this migration would not automatically solve the problem, because migrants from Central America would still need to travel through cartel-controlled Mexico unless they could afford flights, and even if they could, you can bet cartels would try to make them pay for access to those too. This is now human trafficking as big business, and cartels will not give it up easily. The Times story is also clear that most of the 250,000 unaccompanied minors we know have crossed in the last 2 years are economic migrants. Central American politics were not magically more stable under Donald Trump. The surge in economic migration, as Todd Bensman says, is like a faucet. The water is always there, but it doesn't flow from the tap until you turn it on. Joe Biden's policies turned it on. This is what the media misses. Biden has incrementally expanded humanitarian parole, most recently via the CBP One app, to reduce the bad optics of illegal crossing numbers. So Bensman estimates about 35% of 150 monthly parolees get sent back. Those odds are strong enough to draw economic migrants up to our border in staggering numbers. That's why we're seeing increases. We believe that CBP One has encouraged migration. That is a quote from a Tijuana migration official to Telemundo in February. Quote, it looks easier to have an appointment. Yes, we have seen people who arrive with that expectation. There you go. Shelters report being flooded, and as they will say, it's not just because of the pandemic economy in these countries. It's because of this administration. So it's no wonder HHS is completely incapable of handling these kids safely. These are impossible numbers for any country to handle with respect and dignity, both to the migrants and to their own citizens. We do need immigration for economic reasons. We should absolutely offer as much political asylum as we safely can for moral reasons. And yes, the U.S. historically destabilized Central America and Mexico with drugs and coups. We should help these countries, and we should help their people. But what's happening now is a moral disaster fueled by the cowardice of American politicians and the ignorance of American media. They are the useful idiots of big business and cartels. Thousands of kids every single month are being abused on their journeys north, some of them dying, then entering a country where their legal future is completely uncertain and unstable. Also, Democrats can claim some faux moral high ground the ignorant media is more than happy to give them. Our policies need to be clear, lawful, and uniform. Asylum needs to be enforced, not preemptively assumed for people whose claims are obviously dubious, at the expense of those who are real. That's the only way to reduce the wave of economic migration that's fueling cartel power, hurting desperate people, and devastating our bureaucracy's ability to handle this with humanity and fairness. Ryan, what did you make of that?
Hey guys, ready or not, 2024 is fully upon us now, and Sagar and I have been brainstorming ways that we can really up our game for this critical election.
Yeah, we rely on our premium subs to expand our coverage, to add staff, to upgrade the studio. We just want to give you the best independent coverage of this election, which is possible. So if you can help us out, become a premium subscriber today, breakingpoints.com, or the link is down here in the description video. It really means the world to us, and if you like what we're all about, this is the best possible way to keep us 100% independent, working only for you.